With Chris, it's time to catch up with Leeann Watson from the Canterbury Employers Chamber of Commerce. How are you? Nice to see you.
I'm great, thanks, Chris.
There is so much to discuss. Somebody actually had a really good question on a text through today about what financial support is there for businesses, because I know even in Christchurch, they're doing it tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is quite a wide range of support available for businesses. And it is a bit complicated. So what I am going to do is send you something to put on your Facebook page.
Excellent.
But so the wage subsidy is still in existence. And then we've got the resurgent support payment. So that is where that came in a couple of weeks ago when we went back to Alert Level 3 and 2, just for a short period. Now we're obviously in it again for a longer period. So that resurgent support payment is available, and that is based on a revenue drop. So there is criteria, obviously, that you've got to meet. And then there is the Covid-19 short-term absence payment, and that is when you've got an employee who is away unwell, awaiting the results of a COVID test, for example, where they can't be at work, and but they don't want to be disadvantaged by not being able to be at work. So there is support available for them. And then there is the COVID-19 leave support scheme, and that's for a longer period of time. So that might be someone that has to isolate for 14 days, for example. So they may have had a test and then they've got to isolate for a longer period of time. And I think the important thing to also recognise is that those support payments are also available for not just the person perhaps that is having the COVID test and needs to await the outcome, but actually their close contact should also be in isolation during that period, as we've recently
found
learned.
out now.
Yes, so the support is available for those close contacts as well. So it's really important that both employers and employees understand what is available. So there shouldn't be any reason for both employers to insist that employees come to work if they're not able to in that sort of a situation, or for employees to think that they have to go to work because there's no other means to support them through that period. So it is important to understand what is available, and 0800 50 50 96 is our COVID helpline. If you've got any queries about that, just pick up the phone and ring, because it is quite complicated. We're running the risk now of there being so much support that people are just a bit overwhelmed by it.
Yeah, and I know that you guys do a great job in just condensing it down so people don't have to think too much when they're feeling stressed, which I know is really, really tough at the moment. And I know that thankfully we're not in a similar situation to Auckland, but we are still doing up tough too. And, I note that all the events that have been cancelled, postponed, there are massive costs involved in that. What's your sense on, let me start with the entertainment sector first of all. I mean, it's been battered and bruised again by no fault of its own.
Yeah. Look, it's really tough, and the shining light in this is that we were able to get some great events last week, and Electric Avenues obviously took place on Saturday, 25,000 people. The flow-on impacts from those sorts of events are significant across the business community, in particular small businesses, all the suppliers to them, all of the bars and the restaurants and the retailers that that reap the rewards after people have been at those sorts of events. So absolutely, the events that have been postponed or cancelled, it's just another blow to that sector who are doing it pretty tough. So, this is why it's so important that we can continue to get the good, clear messages out to people about the importance of contact tracing, the importance of following the rules around social distancing, and making they're there for a reason. If we don't want to continue to yo-yo in and out of alert levels, we've got to start doing this stuff well, and everyone has a part to play in that. So we've all got to do the right thing. How
much of a concern is it for your members the fact that we're at this social gathering situation of only 100 people or less at bars and restaurants, but also the social distancing measures, which I know are an absolute pain for people. Even just things like you can't go up to a bar to order a drink now, can you? It's all table service, and it's quite regimented. And I wonder whether people are bothering. And is that a concern from the industry, or is it kind of, here we go again, at least it's only 7 days? Or what's the general feeling, do you think?
Yeah, obviously in Auckland it's different again. Here in Christchurch in the South Island, obviously we can continue to operate at Alert Level 2 with those requirements in place. And look, if it's any indication to go by, I went out for dinner last night with my family, daughter's 21st, happy birthday Jess, and actually the restaurant was full.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, which is really great. So I think the upside is that we do have businesses in the South Island and businesses in Christchurch in particular who have lots of experience in working through these sorts of pretty challenging situations. So, if you've got those good plans in place, you can turn them on again pretty quickly. So that's the upside. Now, of course, there will be some people that, may feel less confident at going out and about. So it will have an impact. There's no doubt about that. And it is harder for businesses to make money when they've got that social distancing in place and they've, got the single server. There's additional costs that businesses have to
that's right.
Take on board as well. So it's certainly challenging, and it's the same businesses that we talk about every time we talk about this that continue to be impacted. They've been impacted right since the start of COVID, and they'll continue to be impacted until we get the borders open. So it's the same people that are hurting even more this week.
Do we know when the government is going to make an announcement on whether we get rid of some of these alert measures before Sunday?
No, I don't know. I mean,
usually they're pretty good at giving us some times and
dates. I imagine. They've been pretty clear that the announcement will be made on Saturday. So, and I think they'll probably take it right to the wire.
I think you're right, actually, because that right to the wire has not given people enough time to decide on what festivals are going ahead, so some have just had to cancel. Yeah,
and I think that's really challenging. So look, we're certainly talking to the government about a couple of things. One is looking at whether or not the current supports are sufficient. Because I think there's room for movement. So rather than continuing to move up and down the alert levels, is it better to actually provide more support for businesses so that they can make sure that people are doing the right thing? And secondly, how do we make sure that we've got some good contingency planning in place so that we don't, we're not in this really reactive, it feels like we're really reactive at the moment, to have the announcement at 9 o'clock on a Saturday and enacted at 6 a.m. the following morning. That's pretty tough. And so, businesses need to be able to plan as much as they can in a challenging situation. So I think the more notice that we can give, the easier it's going to be for those situations. We're still going to have an impact. We're still going to have to cancel events and those sorts of things. But at least if we've got a little bit more notice, it does enable us to actually plan further ahead.
Just finally, only got a minute left, but there's been some discussions about the rise of car park costs in the central city. Will the Chamber be making a submission to the council on this? Because we've got to be doing everything we can to help businesses, don't we? And this seems a bit weird. What were your thoughts?
Quite shocked, actually, I have to say. I think we all know that, the council is also not immune to the impacts of COVID, that they need to find new ways of bringing in revenue and those sorts of things. But actually this is in complete contrast to what we're trying to achieve. The businesses in the central city are the very businesses we've just talked about. They've been impacted by COVID right from the start, will continue to be impacted until we get the borders open. So we need to provide every reason for people to go into the central city to go to the restaurants, go to the bars, buy from the retailers. And if we're imposing a significant increase in parking, which some of our residents already think it's an issue and a barrier to going into the central city, now is just simply not the right time to do that.
I agree, so do thousands of people have commented on it as well.
Yeah, so we will absolutely be putting in a very, very clear submission on that very issue. It's just not the right time. Absolutely agree that at some stage, small incremental adjustments might be the way to do that. But now's not the right time to do that. I
agree. Leeann Watson from the Chamber. Nice to see you. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
Chris.
We'll be right back.
As a business